Get ready for the dictation on the count of 3, 2, 1, start. Corruption has been a long standing issue in India and it remains a significant problem that affects various aspects of the country's social, political, and economic systems. The widespread prevalence of corruption is a significant challenge to the country's efforts to achieve sustainable development and progress. In India, corruption can be found at all levels of government from the lowest to the highest. It is a common practice for public officials to take bribes, misuse public funds, and engage in other forms of corrupt practices. This has led to a lack of transparency and accountability in government institutions, which has had a detrimental effect on the delivery of public services. One of the most significant examples of corruption in India was the 2G spectrum scam, which came to the light in 2010. The scam involved the sale of 2G spectrum licenses to select companies at lower prices than their market value, leading to significant losses for the Indian exchequer. The scandal led to widespread protests and investigations, and several high-profile politicians and bureaucrats were implicated in the scam. Another major instance of corruption in India is the Commonwealth Games scam, which took place in 2010. The scam involved the misappropriation of funds meant for the construction of infrastructure for the Commonwealth Games, resulting in shoddy construction and overpriced contracts. The scandal led to public outrage, and several officials were arrested and charged with corruption. The Indian government has taken various steps to tackle corruption, such as enacting legislation like the Prevention of Corruption Act, setting up anti-corruption agencies like the Central Vigilance Commission and the Central Bureau of Investigation, and implementing transparency measures like the Right to Information Act. However, corruption remains a significant problem and more needs to be done to address the issue effectively. This requires a comprehensive approach that includes reforming institutions, strengthening enforcement mechanisms, and promoting transparency and accountability. Corruption in India is not just limited to the government and public sector, it also exists in the private sector, with corrupt practices like bribery, insider trading, and money laundering being commonplace. The influence of corruption in India can be seen in various aspects of daily life, from obtaining basic services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure to doing business and seeking justice in the courts. The effects of corruption are far-reaching as it undermines the rule of law, distorts competition, and hinders economic development. It erodes public trust in government institutions and erodes social cohesion, leading to a breakdown in societal norms and values. Corruption can also lead to political instability as it undermines the legitimacy of the government and fuels social unrest. The issue of corruption in India is further compounded by the country's vast socio-economic disparities, as those who are poor and marginalized are often the most vulnerable to corruption. corruption makes it difficult for the poor to access basic services as they may not have the financial resources to bribe officials or pay for services that should be provided for free. This further exacerbates inequality as those who can afford to pay for services or bribe officials are often the ones who are able to access them, creating a divide between the haves and have-nots. The Indian government has taken various measures to address corruption, such as creating specialized anti-corruption agencies, strengthening legal frameworks, and promoting transparency and accountability. However, corruption remains a significant challenge that requires sustained efforts from all stakeholders, including civil society organizations, the private sector, and the media. One area that requires particular attention is the need to promote a culture of ethics and integrity in both the public and private sectors. This requires not just enforcing anti-corruption laws but also promoting a values-based approach that emphasizes the importance of honesty, transparency, and accountability. The government should invest in training and capacity building programs to help officials develop the skills and knowledge necessary to prevent and detect corrupt practices. Another critical area is the need to strengthen institutions and governance structures to promote transparency and accountability. This includes implementing open data policies and providing citizens with access to information, strengthening the independence and effectiveness of oversight institutions like the judiciary and the ombudsman, and promoting participatory governance through mechanisms like citizen consultations and social audits. In addition to these measures, there is a need for greater international cooperation in the fight against corruption. The global nature of corruption means that a coordinated effort is needed to tackle the issue effectively. This includes sharing best practices, exchanging information, and providing technical assistance to help countries build their capacity to prevent and combat corruption. In conclusion, corruption remains a significant challenge for India that requires sustained efforts to address. While progress has been made in recent years, much more needs to be done to promote transparency, accountability, and integrity in all aspects of society. Only by working together can India make significant progress in the fight against corruption and build a more equitable, just, and prosperous society for all.